Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the first session of The Story Behind Your Cup of Tea for 2021. We're talking trends today, not just ordinary trends. We're talking about trends with a little difference. So this is not a conventional trend seminar. It is more about a trend that backs all the trends. Now, if you look at every single food trend that we are seeing coming around the world in every news channel, it's about four key things. Now, the first two, it's about natural. Everyone wants food and beverage that is natural, not only food and beverage, but other things too, that maintain nature, because we are the first generation really that is at risk of losing some aspects of nature that are so much a part of our life. And people love nature, not simply for the effect it has on us, but also in the case of tea, for the taste of nature. And so our first trend is very much about nature. It's about these teas that are right here. Now, what do these teas have to do with nature? Well, quite simply, every tea is formed by a confluence of natural factors. Ranvatta, grown in Norelia. It's light golden. Spectacular light, citrusy, hay, grassy nose formed from Camellia sinensis, the same plant that forms this tea, but formed from the wind, from the soils, the loamy soils, from the cool temperatures, from the diurnal range, the temperature difference from morning till evening. And that brings out the specific characteristics from the group of antioxidants, brings out certain characteristics that produce the citrusy note. You know, tea is composed of 300 different elements. It's almost like a conductor conducting an orchestra. And it's a beautiful symphony because here, nature is the conductor. And what nature is doing here is conducting lightness, brightness, intensity, and strength. So here you have that richness of tea brought from the soils in the low country of Sri Lanka, the sea air that comes in near the cities of Gaul. Here, Ratnapura, Little Malty. Here, Dibula Valley, near Talawakale, a little bit south of Norelia. Woody, and here, light, bright. And that's the beauty of nature. And how does it work? It's this combination. Terroir is formed. Terroir means a sense of place. For those of you who aren't living in wine countries, it's a sense of place, and it is defined by temperature, by the terrain, by the soil, by different cultural traditions as well. And so for us, it's about the combination of heaven and earth. And ultimately, of course, it's the work of the men and women who produce tea, but what it is nature that is the conductor of this beautiful symphony. And so nature is what tea represents, the taste, the brightness. And so Camellia sinensis, in different ways, influenced by nature. And then when you look at the process, it's simply as it happened 5,000 years ago, rolling, allowing the juices to extract, to mingle with each other, bringing out what nature has done in the leaf. And so the manufacture of tea, I'm talking about the traditional manufacture that we believe in Sri Lanka. It's about perfecting, I shouldn't say perfecting because you can't perfect nature, but it is about nurturing what nature has already done in the leaf, bringing out the enzymes, building character, aroma, flavor. Because all of this is made from the same plant. It is nature that has made the difference. And so you see the difference in these teas, simply the elevation. So different elevations, different topology, different geology, so different soils, different temperatures, different wind conditions. And that is really the essence of why nature is crafting each of these teas. And that expressed in this incredible beauty that you see on the screen here. Ranvatta, light and golden, so very different to the intensity, the bitter chocolate notes that you have in Yatavatta, and Udavatta in between with from Dimula, and you have the Madhavatta that is delicate, a little bit malty. And that is probably the single most important reason why tea tops the trends in every part of food and beverage. It's because tea is so natural. But then there is something else. And I would say this is an equivalent of natural. And that is the health benefits in tea. And so on this chart, you have a listing of different food and beverage. And summarizing it, for those of you perhaps who can't read the detail, simply put, a cup of tea has an equivalent to 4 or 5 typical servings of fruit and vegetable. I love fruit and vegetable at certain times, but to know that these things that we consider to be so good for us, tea, 1 cup of tea has 4 to 5 times more antioxidants. That's incredible. And what is so important about antioxidants? Well, you can read a lot about it in this book, Tea and Health, and there's lots of information on our website. But put simply, tea and the antioxidants in tea, the natural plant antioxidants, help with the anti-inflammatory, help with protection from diabetes, from cardiovascular diseases, protect from stroke, from stress, protect our bodies from pollution, and so much more. And so the second, possibly equal with nature, the second most important trend that we see coming up in this decade, sensitized by what we've been through in 2020, is a desire for health and wellness in what we eat and drink. And with tea, there's no more potent or no more unique natural antioxidant source than a cup of tea. You've got to make sure it's fresh. You've got to brew it right. It's got to be pure origin, not mixed. But tea has incredible potential. Tea also protects from the effects of cancer. Tea enhances digestive health. Digestive health is so important for us today because it's what helps us to sleep. And so many people having difficulty sleeping. But there's more. It helps cognitive health. It helps focus. It helps us with brain function. Helps us in order to relax, to have positive mood. And those are the L-theanines. I know a lot of you fear for the caffeine in tea, but you can read more about why caffeine in tea is not something you should worry about too much unless you're medically sensitive to caffeine. And so the top 2 trends, which we are seeing across every food and beverage category, is natural. People want natural product, naturally, because it is so important from a safety point of view, from a purity point of view. And where tea is concerned, not only the process, but also the product, the fact that we are working as tea makers, not with what we have done, but with what nature has done. That's so very important. And the health benefits connected to that, natural and healthy. But there's more. And so we want products that are natural. We want products that are really good for us, but we're not willing to compromise on a couple of other things. And that is indulgence, primarily. Indulgence comes from taste. And so taste also leads to variety, because we see indulgence expressed in a few different ways. Now, this one I missed out. And I'm going to show you this tray, because the health benefits in tea aren't restricted to any particular tea. It is restricted to the extent that I talked about to tea that is from the plant Camellia sinensis, but whether it is black tea, whether it is green or oolong, it's got the same antioxidant benefits. And that's important for you to know, because you don't need to have some spectacular special tea. You need to have a good quality, pure, freshly packed tea. Brew it right. Make sure you've extracted the tea. Make sure you've got good water. If you want to know what good water is, check out some of our earlier episodes. And you need to make sure that you brew it right, stir properly, and that's how you extract the antioxidant goodness. So it's not any specific tea, but it's also not lots of the infusions. I know lots of the infusions, the chamomiles, etc. They're lovely, they're great, they have particular benefit for you. But if you look at mate, if you look at other herbs, peppermint and so on, they're good, but in a different way. Tea is uniquely good for human health. Now let's get back to indulgence. Now indulgence is this. I don't think I'm unique in wanting to start the new year with a diet. And you know what is great about tea? You have incredible indulgence in tea, not only in the taste adventure. Let me show you a little video of something that we talk about in terms of taste adventure. You know, a few feet from this School of Tea room, we taste 10,000 different teas each week. Each of those is specific in flavor, taste, aroma, character, and appearance. Have a look. Now, these are some of the teas, each one representing a different estate. These are some of the teas in liquor. We first assess them on the eye and so the leaf. Then we assess them also in liquor on the eye, but on the nose and also on the palate. So taste adventure is one part of indulgence. And there is a tea for every occasion and every taste. If you like a tea on a bright sunny day, a tea that's soft and mild, we have it. There's an oolong. There's a beautiful springtime oolong. If you like a tea that is strong and intense, the Yatawata, a tea from the southern part of Sri Lanka, grown at sea level, intense, strong, gutty, beautiful, even with notes of bitter chocolate and real robust, strong tea. But then you have at the opposite extreme, the first tea that I showed you at the beginning. It's light, it's bright, and it's so, so delicate. And so everything in between forms that taste adventure in tea. But then how does that relate to what we're talking about in terms of the indulgence in tea? Well, quite simply, chocolate, feeling a little guilty? Well, the antioxidants in tea also help emulsify the fats, helps the body synthesize the sugars. And that's an incredibly beautiful feature of tea because you have the possibility to moderate some of the sin you've had at dessert. There are some teas, and this is one of my favorites, Ceylon tea with rose and French vanilla, where the tea is a dessert. So you have this incredible aroma of red rose, you've got aromas of vanilla, you've got the sweetness, you've got the strength and the foundation of a woody tea character. Beautiful. That is a dessert tea. And that is a trend because indulgence is something that we all desire. I know that health and natural, they are trending, but sometimes we like a little bit of indulgence too. Whether you take Ceylon single region, single origin tea, what you would call a tea that you might have on a daily basis, or whether you take a Moroccan mint or whichever, you can always make your indulgence by pairing tea with a different food. So here we have a cupcake. And once you've eaten that cupcake, there's two things that the tea does. It does what I mentioned a moment ago. It's going to help you functionally in terms of erasing the fats, in terms of synthesizing the sugars, but it's also going to help you to enjoy the indulgence in your dessert because it brings out the flavors. So what the Moroccan mint green tea does, it enhances the texture and the flavor and the aromas in the chocolate, and it's a beautiful combination. Tea, in a very genuine sense, dignifies food. And it's not just these foods, it's also savory. So you might want to combine tea with a smoked salmon. Why? Because you want to bring out the flavor. And on the second sip, you want to erase that oily note. Well, you can do it. And you can be truly a chef, a pairing chef, a tea-inspired chef at home by creating these experiences. And those experiences are what are at the heart of indulgence. And so there is one more. We're talking about 4 macro trends. We're going to go into a lot more detail in the video that is going to accompany this session. That'll come out separately, but we're trying to, for sake of time, we're trying to keep this session to the macro trends. And so we've looked at natural. Tea is natural. Tea is healthy. It's great for human health and wellness. But tea is also indulgent. But what more? There's one more thing that everyone tells us in the research. It's sustainability. People want more than ever. All of us want purpose. We want purpose because there must be a purpose beyond profit, but also we want to consume products that have a purpose, whether it is a human or a social purpose or an environmental one. Well, for the social side of it, I'm fortunate to work here, and as are my colleagues, because my father formed Dilmah on the philosophy that business is a matter of human service. But there's more, because that's not sufficient for the consumer. And so environmental purpose. Of course, we have Dilmah Conservation and the hundreds of projects that we do. Tea, at least Dilmah, is carbon neutral. But what's more is tea and the tea bags that we use are biodegradable. And what we are promoting this year is a return to tagless tea bags. So in this case, yes, we've got a little work to do on this tiny little tape up here, but apart from that, our teas are 98% biodegradable, and that helps our carbon neutrality. And so what I'm saying in this respect is that it's great when there's tea or a product that actually supports livelihoods. We have over 2,000 different businesses set up here through our small entrepreneur program, but I mean, that's not it. That's just a small part of what you're going to read in here. Have a look at that. It's going to be on issue online to have a look at a little later on. And so natural, healthy, indulgent, and sustainable. Those are the 4 macro trends that we found. And those are the same trends that right across most food and beverage trend analyses. But there's a couple of other things we want to tell you also about the School of Tea, because if you really consider what tea offers, take these 4 trends, but take it beyond. Look at those beautiful oolongs, look at the beautiful floral notes, look at the way in which tea pairs with food, in which tea pairs with different types of spirit, producing incredible tea mixology. The cocktails are spectacular, the way that tea inspires and dignifies food, but also the way tea, through its L-theanine, can influence mood in a positive sense, and how tea can protect the body. There's no doubt that if you really look at the next decade, tea in a very real sense is perfectly paired with every aspect of life. Now, we have another video that's going to be coming out, which will talk a little bit more in detail. And there we're talking about a little more detail on health and wellness. We've got 12 trends there. We're talking about chais, we're talking about natural medicinal infusions, and so on. But the most compelling reasons are these 4. And an important point to remember, that while tea is natural in its process and in its material, because it begins and it ends with the leaf, tea also began as a medicine, supporting our second trend. But where indulgence is concerned, we must remember that tea is crafted by nature and it's then picked by hand. And if you look at luxury in the 21st century, there is nothing more luxurious than a product that is entirely made by hand. But more than made by hand is the passion and the love that goes into producing tea. I'm surrounded by hundreds of people, not only here, mostly on our plantations, who produce your tea with a lot of love. Now that's luxury in the 21st century. And of course, the assurance of sustainability. But then that's becoming a norm. And at the end of this decade, we're going to see that everything and everybody will surely be 100% sustainable. And so with that, I've got some more news for you. You know, we are limited to a 20-minute slot, and I can see that my time is nearly up. 2 things I want to tell you. We have coming up on the 11th February, the brewing tradition to express wellness, harmony, and comfort. And so I'll be joined there with Dutch mixologist, our old friend Robert Sinkel, for any of you who have been to our earlier sessions of the School of Tea. Robert is crazy about chais, so we're going to be talking a lot about chais. And we're also going to be talking in March on luxury in taste and plant-based goodness. And that's going to be just me, but we might have an appearance of one of our physicians who will talk a little bit more about Ayurveda and about plant-based goodness in some of these teas. And now, for all of you who have taken the time to join us, I have some news. We all like awards, right? We all like medals. Well, we have a few medals. What you see on screen right now are the medals that we are going to be offering. Each medal represents 3 sessions. So a module attendee medal endorsed by world chefs will be awarded to everyone who successfully completes the questions that will come out to you on the Zoom appreciation note that follows. But that, in case you miss it, you can also watch this session online on Facebook, and you can complete the questions. And once you complete it, you will be awarded a module medal. And then once you've finished all 4, so each medal represents 3 sessions. Once you've got all 4, you will get Tea Aficionado certificate. That's going to lead to more interesting things as we go on. And so we have one more. Actually, we have a little more. On the last occasion, I think I had so many questions and I was totally unprepared for the question saying, where can we get hold of those teas that you showed? Well, this is where you can get a hold of those teas on the Dilmah online shop. We've set up a special section called the Tea Inspired Trends for the Decade. You can visit there and you can find all 12 of the teas plus what we presented today. So with all of that, I'm going to close and I'm going to ask you to answer the questions we are sending you. I would love to see all of you having the Tea Aficionado medal, and I would love to see you at the next session. Ladies and gentlemen, Ayubowan, have a wonderful life, stay safe, stay well, and see you next month.